Hello, and welcome to Michell Consulting's webinar series for our Michell University. Today we're going to be working with Infor FACTS, and we're going to be discussing the sales quote process. This webinar is being recorded. It'll be available on our website, so you can visit us at www.michellgroup.com to view this along with our other webinars. For purposes of the webinar today, we're going to be working with Infor FACTS version 7.7 as our demo. So let's see here. From the main menu, we're going to go into Sales Order. In Sales Orders, we're going to talk about the quote. The quote allows us to enter information to an existing customer or to a temporary customer. Then we can print this information, printer's quote, send it to the customer, and then upon the acceptance from the customer, we can actually turn that quotation directly into a sales order or directly into an invoice. The process of the screens is the same. So if you're doing a quote entry, which we see here, it's very similar to the sales and the invoice. So if we open up order entry, we can see that we're using the same type of screen. The difference being is that when we do enter a quote, we're not really committing any inventory. What we're doing is we're allowing us to go in, enter the information from a customer, establish that quote, send it to the customer, and that way we're not really affecting our inventory. Once the customer decides he wants the product, we can then convert that into an order. So as you see with FACTS and the standard FACTS, we can do a couple things. We can use our function keys. So we can do F1 to add, we can do F2 to search customers, and we can do F3 to do a document search. We can also type in new to create a new customer. We can also use our buttons up here and use the mouse. So the same thing, we can add, we can do a customer search, so we can do a document search. So let's start off by doing a customer search, and we're going to call up this first customer here. And again, we see all the information coming in. As we said, we see our customer balance information. This is set in our options, so you can see here in the view options, we can set what we want to see. For example, pricing options and warehouse quantity options. You can see that we're pulling the information from the customer file maintenance as well as their ship tos. We can search ship tos. So in the case of this customer, we have multiple ship tos. We can default our ship tos. We can also look at our initiating warehouse, and we can also create a temporary ship-to. So we can do a temporary ship-to for one time here. Again, we can put a reference if we want. We can put a contract. If we're working with contracts, again, we can go here and we can search existing contracts. We can see we do have a contract with this person, and we can see the name here. So we're going to call up the contact. And again, this is coming from the relationship management file. So we do have a detailed webinar on relationship management. Relationship management is part of the FACTS, which allows us to interface this information. So again here, just like we're entering an order, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put an item. We can do a search if we want by pressing here, or we can press the F2. So we're going to go ahead and search. We're going to select an item. And again, you can see the warehouse information because we have those views set up. You can see warehouse quantities. So that information is coming here. We can look at the warehouse itself. It's coming from warehouse 1. We can also establish a direct ship if we want. A direct ship will bypass the inventory completely as a drop ship and send it directly from the vendor to the customer. Here's the quantity, so I'm going to go ahead and just put in 10. And again, we're looking at our quantity here, our price. Again, we have our pricing information coming up because that's what we have set up in our view. So we're ready to enter our next line. And we can continue entering lines like this, and when we're done, we can F4, and we can go done. And again, we're looking at information here. Again, this is information set up. We're giving a 5% discount. we have our freight information as well as our tax information, and we have all the information related to the amounts here. Just going to click OK. We can print the quote now if we want. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and not print that now. And now here's the important part. We're getting into this converting. So right now what we'll do, and we typically don't do this when we add a new quote. This is typically done in a change order, so we'll do it in a change order, but this is how we decide to convert the quote. For now, since we just did a quote, we're just going to not convert the quote. We're going to click OK. And you can see here, generated quote number 00827, which relates here. You can see that this is part of the RM, the relationship management information here. It's generating a note. Again, if you view our webinar on that, you'll see the details of all this information is being tracked. This is because later on, when I'm in the relationship management and I'm looking at this information, I'm looking at this customer, and I'm looking at the contact here, I can see all the information that I sent a quote, and I can use this for follow-up. So again, the interface of the relationship management is built in to the process here. Okay, so that's it. We've done a quote. We can, if we want, we can go in here and do a quote print. So let's go in and do our print. So we'll go back into sales order, quotes. And here we can do, we could have printed one at a time, or we can do a batch print. We can say here, in this case, we can print or reprint. We're going to print because we haven't done it. Again, we can put our specific quote number in here, or we can do is we can do all, or we can even search. So we can look here at our last quote. Let's go here. Our customer is right here. You can see here that we've got quote 827. And again, we can go ahead and print this. Let's change our print options. And let's just send this to the notepad for right now. Again, we can see our quote. The quote we just did here. We can see that we did quote 827. So if we go back now and print, and since we're on print, if we put in 00827, you can see that it says it's already printed. So we would have to go into reprint mode and then go ahead and put in 00827, and now we can reprint it. We have quote removals. What we can do is we can establish when we want to remove quotes based on a cutoff date. You can see that when we do enter quotes, we can default the quotes to be valid for a certain amount of time. So we can actually use that as our cutoff date, and we can also cancel the quotes if we need to. So let's go back into quote entry, and let's call up, let's go to document search, and let's call up our quotes, which was here, 827. Again, you can see all the information. You can look at orders related to that quote. Right now we don't have any orders. You can look at contracts related to that. We can go into our header information, and we can look at the detailed header information. Again, you can see the initiating warehouse. And here's that expiration date. So we could set an expiration date here if we wanted to. We can see, again, quoted to the contact, Julie Johnson. The user, I'm logged in as IN4. And again, all the information related, coming default from the business partner, and related to all the information here. We also have all the different codes that's coming over from the customer file maintenance, and if we wanted to, we can make any changes to this information. Again, we see the contact 1000. This is related to the here, the warehouse, the relationship management. Again, you can look here, and again, you can see the information. So, as we know, we can go into line detail. We can look at information about this line. So we can look at the quantities. So what we put 10. We can look at our price. again, we can determine if we want to do a ship complete or allow back orders. We can look at our vendors and all our information, as well as all our PO costing and information here. So we're going to look at costing and any POs and stuff we create. So let's just go here and click Done. So here we can go in and we can see that we have our discount. We have, again, the information here for freight and tax we can look at. And once we click OK, we have the option here of converting the quote. So we can do a couple of things here. So we can say here, we can convert all the line items. We can convert only the flagged items. So we can flag items within here to go see which ones we want to convert. For the purpose of this demo, we're going to convert all. And again, we can do it to a sales order, to a contract. We're just going to do it to a sales order. And again, if we did the contracts, we would have information down here set up. We'll do both, so let's just do this one for now. Okay, and we're going to see here all the information. And you can see that the work order for this quote is 1924. You can see one has been converted. So we've converted this item. So we have 001924 as the sales order is converted. Again, this information is going into the note file from the relationship management. So we have all this information here. We can skip the note if we want. We're just going to say done because we want to keep the note in relationship management. So if we go back here and we call up the 827 and we click OK, again, you can see the information here and you can see that the quote was converted. So we can't actually create orders because we're actually converted here. So we can see all the information. If we go to sales order, we go to orders, we go to order entry, and we put in 001924. Again, you're going to see the sales order that was created. Again, that was created from the quote. So you can see here the source for the quote. Again, we can see that this is all going into the note file of the relationship management. So we're tracking all the information. Again, it gives us a centralized place to go in and see all the information, so any problems we may have. So let's go here. Let's call up another quote. Let's call up, say, this one here. Find one with some items on it. And again, you can see how these are have not been converted. You can see here it was converted, so we can't change the line, but we can go ahead and we can add additional lines to it. So we can add a line. We can go in and put our item. Let's say no, I 100. And again, we have that information. So we have that line. Again, line detail. We can look at the line detail information about everything, and we can look at the costing here, and so on. We do have some options. Again, that we can import items. We can look at items here. We can look at the different information along here as we have within the standard facts. So we're going to save it. And we click Done. Again, we get the information here. And again, we want to convert that quote. And we convert it to a sales order. So we'd like to thank you for joining us on our webinar. This was a reminder, this webinar